welcome to the latest installment of My Dad Listens to This. I'm Juliet the daughter.
And as ever, I'm Kevin the dad.
And we are back with part 2 of our coverage of Dionne Warwick and Burt Bacharach. So you heard Burt Bacharach's bio in part 1. Now we're going to hear Dionne's bio in part 2. So Dad, what do we need to know?
Well, we need to know that Marie Dionne Warwick, that's with 2 R's, was born December 20th, 1940 in East Orange, New Jersey. After graduating East Orange High School in 1959, she got a degree at the Hart College of Music in Connecticut. She made her TV debut on the TV Gospel Time show in the early 60s when she was part of the Drinkard Singers, a gospel group her mother Lee managed. Whilst performing background vocals on the Drifters' Mexican Divorce, written by Burt Bacharach and Bob Hilliard, she garnered Burt's and Hal David's attention. Burt made an offer to Dionne to record demos for his compositions. One demo, It's Love That Really Counts, caught the attention of Scepter Records president Florence Greenberg, who allegedly said, "Forget the demo, get the girl." Dionne signed to Burt and Hal's production company, which in turn signed to Scepter. This gave the guys freedom to produce songs for Dionne without having to answer to record company execs. Plus, with Dionne's musical ability and education, Burt could write more challenging music. As mentioned in our previous episode, Dionne's first single was Don't Make Me Over, which Burt and Hal wrote when Dionne said that to them when she found out that Make It Easy on Yourself, a song she thought was going to be her first single, went to former impression Jerry Butler instead. Dionne's last name was misspelled on the single's label as Warwick, which she began to use both professionally and personally. In 1971, on the advice of astrologer Linda Goodman, she would briefly add an E to Warwick so that her name would have 14 letters instead of 13, for good luck. She dropped it after a string of disappointments, including a divorce in 1975 from actor, jazz musician William Elliott. Dionne and William did have 2 sons, David, a one-time LA police officer turned songwriter, and Damon, who was a music producer. And then the hits start coming. She was one of the few American artists to survive the British invasion. She's cranking out hit after hit. Cashbox magazine named her top female vocalist for 1969, 1970, and 1971.
Impressive.
By the end of 1971, Dionne Warwick had sold an estimated 35 million singles and albums, 16 million in singles in the U.S. alone. But those figures are probably underestimated, as Scepter Records did not submit singles to the RIAA, the Recording Industry Association of America, for audit. She also won 2 Grammys. More would follow. In 1971, Dionne left Scepter for Warner Brothers for $5 million, the biggest contract given to a female vocalist up to that time. Burt and Hal tagged along, but then came Lost Horizon, and they broke up. And once again, I reach out to Musicals with Cheese and say, please do an episode on this. Thank you. Per Wikipedia, and I quote, faced with the prospect of being sued by Warner Brothers Records due to the breakup of Bacharach-David and her failure to honor her contract with Warwick, she filed a $5.5 million lawsuit against her former partners for breach of contract.
Oh, shit.
The suit was settled out of court in 1979 for $5 million, including the rights to all Warwick recordings produced by Bacharach and David. Hit-wise, Dionne struggled, but on the concert circuit, she was killing it. And in 1974, she got her first #1 with the Spinners for Then Came You. She recorded 5 albums for Warner's from 1972 to 1977. Then she signed with Arista Records and had a huge comeback. Her first single, I'll Never Love This Way Again, was produced by Barry Manilow, thus earning a reason for his existence on this planet. Her follow-up was Deja Vu, one of my personal favorites, and she won a Grammy for each song. Best Pop Vocal Female for I'll Never Love This Way Again, and Best R&B Vocal Female for Deja Vu. She's back, baby! She's back! Barry Gibb produced Heartbreaker, and Luther Vandross produced and sang with her on How Many Times Can We Say Goodbye?
How many?
As many as it takes. She sang on We Are the World, and then came That's What Friends Are For, teaming up with Gladys Knight, Elton John, and Stevie Wonder. The song sold 2 million copies in the U.S. alone, raised money for AIDS research, and won Dionne another Grammy. During the 90s, she hosted infomercials for the Psychic Friends Network, which was a 900-number psychic service from 1991 to 1998 when it went bankrupt.
Do you remember those ads?
Yes, and I guess they didn't see that coming. Ha! Dionne would earn $3 million a year as its spokesperson.
Whoa.
Her last album for Arista would be 1994's Aquarela do Brasil, a country in which she lived till 2005. She learned Portuguese, and in an interview, she said Brazil was the place she intended to spend the rest of her life after retiring.
Then what happened?
Trabalhos.
Oh.
In 1993, ABC's Forrest Sawyer alleged financial improprieties with the Warwick Foundation, founded in 1989 to benefit AIDS patients. Apparently, 90% of the money was going to admin costs, and 3% was going to AIDS groups.
That sounds about right.
Dionne threatened to sue, but no suit was ever filed. The IRS stepped in to investigate after more complaints, and the foundation was dissolved. And this isn't the first musician-driven charity foundation/organization to have financial difficulties.
Yep.
You got the Concert for Bangladesh,
Yep.
Live Aid,
Yep.
and so on and so on. And so it definitely won't be the last.
Huey Lewis is right. It's not going to go to the right people.
Yep. Anyway, Dionne keeps plugging away, releasing albums, and is actually on tour now. And I think she's actually coming around here next month to Twin River, which has one of the worst concert venues ever. Apparently, they never heard of stadium seating.
Yeah.
It's one, everyone's on the floor, and if someone tall sits in front of you,
You're screwed.
you are.
Yep.
And not in the good way.
Are you going to go?
No.
Okay.
If it was tiered like stadium seating, yeah, I would definitely consider it. What was I? Anyway, okay, so she's also racking up honors. In the past 10 years, she's been inducted into the New Jersey Hall of Fame, the Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame, the Apollo Theater Walk of Fame, and the Palm Springs Walk of Stars. She also won the 2013 Soul Train Living Legend Award, and in 2021 got nominated for the first time for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, for which she's been eligible since 1987. And yes, she does belong in there. So there. A documentary, Dionne Warwick, Don't Make Me Over, came out in 2021, and there's been a biopic series in the works since 2021.
Oh, okay. I wonder who they'd have play her. Who do you think would be good?
You know, I can't remember the name of the actress that she wanted, and I think she eventually got. You'll have to check the...
Someone on the internet
computer.
correct us, if you know.
Yeah, it's out there somewhere. I mean, it's one of those things where allegedly it might be coming out this year, but who knows? Anyway, so now we're going to continue with the rest of the Dionne Warwick collection, her all-time greatest hits.
All right. And we are starting with I Just Don't Know What to Do With Myself. This song is why it is important to have interests outside of your partner. Dionne's man left, and now she's sitting around waiting because doing things makes her feel sad. It doesn't matter if it's going to see a movie or partying with friends. She thinks about the fun the two of them could be having together. But she's so wrapped up in this person, she doesn't know what to do. By this point, I wanted to go, "You're Dionne Warwick! You can have anyone you want! Forget this loser!" Yeah.
Okay. This was first recorded by Chuck Jackson in 1962, but it got shelved and unreleased until 1984. Tommy Hunt, formerly of the Flamingos, also recorded it in 1962. Dusty Springfield recorded it in 1964, and it hit number 3 in the UK. It did not get released in the US until 1965 because Dusty's song Wishin' and Hopin' was in the US top 10 in 1964.
Huh.
Stupefyingly, her version did not reach the Billboard Hot 100. Dionne recorded her version in 1966, and it went to number 26. It's also been recorded by Isaac Hayes, The White Stripes, and of course, just to piss you off, Jules.
No.
Yes.
Say it.
Elvis Costello.
God damn it.
That's what happens when you team up with Burt Bacharach.
Oh, and you married Diana Krall, I guess.
To me, this is like one of the saddest songs ever. And yeah, she just does not know what to do with herself. She's been used to doing everything with him, planning everything for two, but he's gone. So now what? Like a summer rose that needs the sun and the rain, I need your sweet love to ease the pain. And she's holding out hope that if things don't work out with whoever he left her for, he can come back and she'll be around, which just is not good. I'd like to think eventually she was able to move on. Now, compared to Dusty's Phil Spector-influenced version, Burt and Hal keep the music pretty restrained, believe it or not, and let Dionne's voice tell the story. Both versions are great, but Call me a heretic. I'm partial to Dusty's version, as I've had hers around a lot longer than Dionne's. So I've always associated this song with Dusty Springfield. It's just a classic.
Next track, Another Night.
Another Night?
Another one, yeah. I love those opening bass notes because we have a Dionne who is pissed and fed up with being sad. She says, "Show me a rose that never fades and dies, and I'll show you a man who never cheats and lies." Which, how sad is that? You've had so many bad experiences with a partner. You can't imagine someone coming into your life who's honest and good.
There's always the plastic rose. That never fades and dies.
Get out. Musically, I like the backup singers because they sound like her girlfriends validating her thoughts, which we sometimes need from our friends when we want to curse the day a person ever came into our lives. A song with the appropriate energy for being fed up with someone's BS shenanigans and being on the precipice of doing something about it.
This only made it to number 49 on Billboard, just so close to the top 40. And like you said, find Dionne a rose that never dies, a cloud that never rains, a star that never disappears, a bird that can fly without wings, and she'll show you a man who never brings you pain or leaves you high and dry, and so on and so on. For me, the arrangement is just one step away from fully swinging, but it does convey Dionne's sass quite well, and like you said, the background singers, they're like the Greek chorus.
They are, really.
But on top of all that, it's another night without him, she's all alone, and worries so about him. Not that he deserves it. Oh no, he does not. And I'm glad you brought up that bass line because where do you think you've heard that before in one of our recent podcasts?
I can't remember.
Pizzicato 5 listed the bass line for Twiggy versus James Bond. So also, please check out our P5 podcast. Thank you.
Pizzicato 5 was really fun to cover. All right, next track, Alfie. I've only seen the Alfie movie once, and even then it wasn't the full thing. I had two thoughts. One, Michael Caine was hot, and two, Alfie is such a horrible person. And we were watching it at Nana's house, because it was on the TV, and it got to the point where they played the song in the ending credits, and Nana sang at the end, "Scumbag!" I feel like this song perfectly captures what an outsider thinks of Alfie's philandering behavior. He's the worst kind of philanderer, though. He doesn't care anything for the woman on his arm in the heat of the moment. But at the end, he does seem to contemplate and asks, "What's it all about, Alfie?" As if to say, why am I like this? And frankly, he just doesn't know. I like to think that if Dionne showed up in the movie singing this, it'd actually get to him. Because, yeah, maybe fools are kind and it's wise to be cruel, but without love, Alfie, you're nothing. And that's what it's all about for me. A perfect 2-minute summary for the movie if you don't feel like watching it, even though you should.
At first, Bert and Hal did not want to write this song, but they did agree to submit a song if they could write it in 3 weeks. Bert saw a rough cut, and Hal received the script. Hal zoomed in on one of Alfie's lines. Which one? Which one? What's it all about? Obviously, they wanted Dionne to sing it, but Paramount Pictures demanded a UK singer do it, which kind of makes sense, because it does take place in London after all.
Yeah.
Sandy Shaw was first approached. She'd had a #1 hit in the UK with Bert and Hal's There's Always Something There to Remind Me, but she turned them down. Bert wrote to Cilla Black, who had a UK #1 with her version of Anyone Who Had a Heart. She wasn't crazy about doing it, but she said she would do it if Bert could meet her 3 demands.
What were they?
1, Bert would arrange it.
Okay.
2, he'd come to London for the recording session. And 3, he'd play piano on it.
Okay.
Never thinking he would agree to any of that, he did.
Yeah, because they don't seem too outlandish compared to some other demands I've heard singers make. So it sounds pretty basic.
So she realized, okay, I got to do this. He said he'd do all these 3, and he did, and she did. She eventually got a #9 hit with it. Meanwhile, back in the States, Cher did a version that somehow made it all the way up to number 32.
Really? Have you heard it before?
Never heard it. Now listen, Dionne finally recorded her version in 1967, but she thought it was pointless, though, as there had already been 40 cover versions recorded.
Whoa!
Oh, yeah. But she was persuaded, and get this, cut her vocal in a single take.
Oh, wow. Cool.
It was issued as the B-side to the song The Beginning of Loneliness. DJs preferred Alfie, and it started to climb the charts. Dionne sang it on the 39th Academy Awards, and that pushed it higher, going to number 15. At the end of the year, it was number 44 on Billboard's Top 100 Songs of the Year, and it was the only song on the list not to make the top 10 during that year.
Wow.
As for what's the song about? Well,
Alfie.
what it's all about pretty much defines the lyric content. Philosophy set to music. It's a classic.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Now, as for the movie itself, I was there with you. Just saw part of it. I'm sitting there thinking, wow, this is such a great movie. And Michael Caine is the perfect choice to play this because originally it was a play and it was supposed to be Terrence Stamp. And he was approached and they said, hey, you want to do this? He said, nope, not going to do it. But I know a guy.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep. And yeah, what I saw I thought was great. And Michael Caine was perfect. And he was such a bastard. He really was
awful.
And the interesting thing was
but good awful.
Yeah. He breaks the fourth wall and he addresses the audience throughout the movie to either justify his actions or say what he believes. And then you watch and you realize he's just going against everything that he just said.
Yep.
And believe it or not, there was a sequel called Alfie, Darling, which came out in 1975, which did not star Michael Caine or anyone else connected, and it just got trashed. And then for some reason, there was a remake in the early 2000s with Jude Law.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, this would be perfect in the 60s. I just can't see it happening in present day.
Because then it's just a coupling episode.
Yeah, it kind of is.
A really long and intense coupling episode.
I guess, I guess so.
Yeah.
And you're missing Jeff.
Okay, that's it. The only remake of Alfie that we need is with Jeff.
Yes.
It's the same scenario, but it's all Jeff, and we follow him around England for 2 hours.
And in this case, you really feel bad for him.
Yeah, because Jeff's not mean. He's just dumb. He's an idiot. Anyway. Okay.
I think we're going to have to watch that series again. Anyway.
You can't. I'm good with just once. Next track.
The Windows of the World.
The Windows of the World.
Yes.
Oh, wow. This is a protest song.
Yes, it is.
Definitely not as well known as What the World Needs Now, which is more hopeful, but this is more mournful. And this one is more tired, which is more realistic. Because think of the news now. We're all just trying to exist, and then we hear stories such as, for example, Putin in the Ukraine, and we care until we get burnt out, and we feel bad for not caring anymore while the people on the ground get forgotten. Really sobering for Burt Bacharach. I was surprised. I didn't expect one of his songs to hit so hard with the truth. But there's something about this song and how Dionne sounds on the verge of tears and exhaustion that really got to me. I think I might like this a little better than What the World Needs Now, or it could be I like both for different reasons. We'd have to wait and see.
Yeah, this was a departure for everyone involved.
Yep.
Lyrically, it was a protest song about U.S. involvement in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And up to this point, Dionne had pretty much sung love songs. It made it to number 32 on Billboard, and in 2002, Dionne had said it's the favorite of all her singles.
Aww.
And, okay, I'm just going to really pick this apart. There's no chorus to this song. It just seems like verses, or is it all choruses?
I would say all verses.
Okay.
It's more like a statement.
And every verse starts off with the same line, the windows of the world are covered with rain. Every second line ends with ooh, like new, blue, to, do. Mm-hmm. Every third line starts with everybody knows. And every word at the end of the third line rhymes with the word that's in the middle of the fourth line. Not the last word of the fourth line, but it works. Mm-hmm. And the fifth line of each verse is let the sun shine through. Mm-hmm. How's that for analysis?
Very good.
The arrangement is sparse for Burt.
Yeah.
And the standout instruments being violin strings that are plucked to evoke rain hitting the windows. Mm-hmm. And even though it's not like one of her well-known songs, it's just still another classic.
Yeah, it's really good. Next track, I Said a Little Prayer. I still have that time you and Mom bought each other the cards for Thanksgiving that were both playing this song, and it was this version specifically. Now, I've heard Aretha's version first, and I think what makes Aretha's the better version is that vocally, she sounds like her heart is bursting with love for her man, whereas Dionne's feels like a desperate prayer and clinging on to her man. And it's pretty hard to top Aretha even when you're, Dionne friggin' Warwick. And musically, it's too held back compared to Aretha's. So if you have to listen to one version of this song, I'm sorry, but I can't recommend Dionne's version. We all know which one is the best one. Sorry, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Once again, Hal wrote lyrics about Vietnam. This time it was a woman's concern about her man who's fighting over there. Dionne recorded this in 1966, Burt was not happy with the final result. He thought it was too rushed, even though they did 10 takes when normally they would have done 3 at the most. It saw the light of day on the Windows of the World album in September 1967. Scepter Records owner Florence Greenberg heard it and added it to the album. DJs played it and was released as a single with Theme from the Valley of the Dolls as the B-side. It sold 1 million copies, went to number 4 on Billboard, marking Dionne's return to the top 10, and became one of the most successful double-sided hits of the rock era. And you thought only the Beatles and Creedence Clearwater Revival could do that. Ha! Yes, Aretha Franklin recorded a version that went to number 10 in 1968. And allegedly, this could be the Spite version, because she recorded it, allegedly, to assert her dominance as a singer.
Oh, boy.
And she had one of Dionne's aunts, Cissy Houston, on background vocals.
Related to Whitney?
Yep. Cissy was Whitney's mom. It's a great version, but to Dionne, I Will Be True, another classic.
Oh,
And
interesting.
I don't know if you got a chance to read that article that I emailed you.
I did.
Yeah, they have a history.
It's kind of, that whole thing at the Whitney's funeral was just so weird to me.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, so basically you're mad because you're not really her godmother, even though Dionne said you were. I just thought that was a statement about like how close the two of them were. Something, I don't know.
Well, plus the other things that happened was at one time they were both on Arista Records, and at one time it was Dionne, Aretha, and Whitney were all signed at the same time.
Whoa.
And it was, okay, which one is Clive Davis really going to pay attention to?
Which one was it?
I think eventually, first it was Dionne, then it was Aretha, and then it was all Whitney all the time.
Oh boy.
Yep.
Next track, Theme from the Valley of the Dolls. I got the Valley of the Dolls confused with that movie that Roger Ebert wrote.
Was that Beyond the Valley of the Dolls?
Yeah.
Two different things.
Yep.
Boobies.
Very different. I realize that there's... Okay, I'm going to make a statement.
Go ahead.
I realize there's a better version of this song. Once in a Lifetime by Talking Heads. And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here? Listen, orchestrally, it's beautiful, but I'm so sick of Dionne moping and crying. Just please give her a song where she isn't the victim of some man. Give her something more empowering, or let her be joyful when the moment requires it. I feel like they're just keeping her sad all the time because, sure, her voice is perfect for those kind of ballads, but with one of them after the other, at a certain point you go, enough already.
Oh, okay. Well, I have a completely different take on this song.
Okay.
This is from the movie based on the book by Jacqueline Suzanne.
Did you read the book?
No.
Oh.
Per Wikipedia, as of 2016, Valley has sold 31 million copies. It follows 3 women trying to make it in showbiz, each one of them becoming addicted to dolls, a euphemism for amphetamines and barbiturates, which I have never, ever heard that before, but it makes sense when you see all these pills on the cover of the book.
Yeah.
Which did not get the world's greatest book reviews, but it just sold and sold and sold and sold and sold. Now, Judy Garland was supposed to sing the theme originally, but got fired because she liked the dolls a little too much.
Yep.
Actress Barbara Parkins suggested Dionne. Burton Hal did not write this song. This was Andre and Dory Previn, but Burton Hal produced it. As previously mentioned, it was the B-side to I Say a Little Prayer, but Valley went to number 2 on Billboard, stuck behind Paul Moriarty's Love is Blue, which was an instrumental, and you'd know it as soon as you hear it. And then it was stuck behind Otis Redding's Dock of the Bay, which his plane had crashed, and this song just shot to number 1. Lyrically, it's a what the hell happened to me song. And like Dionne knows she has to get off this merry-go-round that's currently her life, or the merry-go-round of addiction. It's kind of like the way she's singing it. It's like she's coming out of a drug haze, but still has trouble completing her thoughts throughout the song. It's like, when did I get, where did I, how was I,
Bang the days go by, let
what?
the water hold me down.
And I thought she just nailed it. And how this did not win an Oscar for Best Song or even get nominated. I mean, not even nominated.
Yeah,
is
the
beyond
Academy
me.
screws up a lot.
They do.
Every single one. It doesn't matter if you're the Tonys or the Oscars or the Grammys or the Emmys. Everyone makes those mistakes.
I was doing some searching around the time that the movie came out. One year it was Born Free, that one, which nothing was going to beat that. Another year it was some forgettable Dr. Doolittle song.
Oh, yeah, you're telling
And
me.
supposedly when that was announced, there was a groan from the audience.
Was it one that Rex Harrison sang? Because that would be even more groan-inducing, which I got a little bone to pick.
I'm not sure if it was Talk to the Animals. I'm really not sure. Okay, do you want to pick?
Yeah. It is of my opinion that Rex Harrison should not have won the Academy Award for My Fair Lady in that year, and that Peter O'Toole should have gotten the Oscar that year for playing Henry II in Beckett. Okay, that's all I got.
Okay, and now I have a story from your mom.
Uh-oh.
Back when she worked for a company who shall remain nameless per your mom's request,
Oh, okay.
she worked in a department that consisted of around 20 women, but it was run by 2 men.
Ugh.
One of your mom's friends, let's call her Andorra.
I know who it is now. Oh, it helps if you remember our family. You know all our inside jokes. Okay.
Okay.
Anyway.
Andorra had the single of Valley of the Dolls hanging up in her cubicle, and it was her fervent wish to be able to answer the phone with Valley of the Dolls. Andorra speaking, how may I help you?
Yeah, that sounds like her.
Yep. Onward. One moment whilst Jules gets over herself.
I'm going to drive Mom nuts about this now. Okay. Do you know the way to San Jose?
Well, do you? Do you? Do you, huh? Do you?
You got to go west.
Do you?
And that's as far as I know.
Well, from here you have to go west.
Yeah.
But stay tuned.
So, I'm sorry, but those whoa, 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 whoas make me laugh every time, even though they're what make the song catchy.
There's 10 of them
Yep.
in each segment. I counted.
This is a good song about needing a change of pace. To paraphrase, T.S. Eliot said that at the end of our journeys, we go back to the place where it all started and really see it for the first time. And that's what this song reminded me of.
Oh my God, I'm already in that place.
Yay. Dionne is going back home to San Jose and is hoping for a breath of fresh air from her romanticized version of her hometown. We also have a song that ends on a fade out here, which I'm always fascinated by when songwriters choose to do that for their ending. But I think it's to leave the hook stuck in your head. Other than the hook in the title, though, nothing too memorable about this song.
Well, you know why they always do fade outs, right?
Why?
So DJs can speak over them.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yep.
But not every song on here ends in a fade out.
That's true. So Dionne tried to make it big in LA, but it didn't work. So she's going back to San Jose. And that's basically it. But she keenly observes that LA is a great big freeway. Put 100 down and buy a car, and in a week, maybe 2, they'll make you a star. But weeks turn into years, how quick they pass. And all the stars that never were are parking cars and pumping gas.
Which is so sad.
Mister, you read my script? Hey, lady, I got a script. You want to read it?
Mrs.
Come on.
Lady.
Yeah. And why San Jose? Why? Why San Jose?
California?
Because
So
Hal
nice.
David was stationed there whilst in the Navy.
Oh,
And he
okay.
kind of liked it there.
And plus, the title rhymes really well and it's catchy.
Yeah, way Jose. No way, Jose.
Hey!
Anyway, as for how to get to San Jose from Los Angeles, Google says you can take I-5 north and get there in about 5 hours and 19 minutes.
God, I forget how big that state is.
You could take Route 99 north in 5 hours and 56 minutes, or the way Mike and I went, Route 101 north, Pacific Coast Highway. That takes 6 hours and 9 minutes, though, depending on traffic and mudslides and that sort of thing. But Mike and I, we did stop at Monterey on the way.
Okay.
And when we got to San Jose, we saw the Winchester Mystery House, which, if you're ever out in San Jose, highly recommended tourist trap.
Is that the one where the stairs don't go anywhere?
Yeah, and they just kept building rooms for the ghosts that allegedly haunted it. Anyway, Dionne thought it was a dumb song, but recorded it anyway. And what do you think happened?
It went big!
It went to number 10 on Billboard, sold 3.5 million copies worldwide, and won her first Grammy for Best Female Pop Vocal Performance.
Damn,
And she still performs it.
it's never the one you think.
I know, I think it's a fun song. Great opening. And the way that they got that bass drum sound was they attached a microphone to the bass drum head. And I also like how it gets brassy during the break. They just always manage to come up with great horn arrangements and a great horn sound. And I remember hearing this song on the radio as a kid when it came out in 1968. I was a little more than 5 years old back then.
Yeah.
Another classic. And the thing that sticks in your head is whoa, 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 whoa.
Lucy in the sky. Oh, wait.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, you didn't notice that?
Not until now. Thank you very much.
That's the first thing I thought of.
Wow. Do you know the way to San Jose? I can see it.
Yep.
Wow.
Next track.
My mind is blown.
Always something there to remind me. So, obviously the one I'm the most familiar with is the cover by Naked Eyes. And I will say, that played at Whole Foods all the time. And every time my coworkers and I heard it, we got scared for a minute because of the opening chimes. For a brief heart-splitting second, we thought it was a Christmas song. Every time we were like, no, it's too early for the Christmas music. Put it back, put it back. But then they'd start singing. We're like, oh, it's this song. And my assistant team leader, Ian, would look at us like with the panic in our eyes. He's like, I always think this is a Christmas song too. Anyway, I will say both of these versions are expressing passion in different ways. Dionne expresses it with her voice, and Naked Eyes cover expresses it with the orchestrations of the music. And I gotta say, I prefer Naked Eyes because musically, it's a different interpretation of Burt Bacharach's music that works for me because the sound is still big. And adding the wedding bells is a nice touch, very the worst that could happen of them.
Yeah, because it shows up in the music video.
Yep, and for some reason, the arrangement is catchier. I think more people would sing along to that one.
Yeah. This was written in 1963 and it was first recorded by Lou Johnson, and it went to number 49, just missing the top 40. British singer Sandy Shaw, as we mentioned earlier, got a number one hit with it in the UK in 1964. Dionne's 1968 cover went to number 65. In 1982, yes, Naked Eyes did a synth version that went all the way to...
Not as high as I think?
Number 8.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And would you believe their follow-up hit was called Promises, Promises?
It was the same one, right? Or no?
It was not the
title.
Helen Burt version.
Yep.
So Dionne's walking the city streets and see things like a cafe that reminds her of her ex. She'll always love him. He'll always be a part of her. And if he misses the love they shared, he can go back to the places they used to go and she'll be there. But is she there waiting, or is it just the ghost of her memory? Don't know. Another terrific performance by Dionne, and why this didn't chart higher on the charts is beyond me. That brassy sounding trumpet alone should have hoisted it up higher. And anyway, as for Naked Eyes, theirs were the first version I ever heard of this song, and singer Peter Byrne did the vocal in one take. And to me, the percussion just reminds me of a submarine. I don't know why. It just does. And it's one of those songs that's very, very 1980s. It could not have happened in any other decade, and it's a classic. And if you watch the video, it starts off with a church wedding, so the bells definitely make sense.
Yep.
Watching the video. But then it's like one of those things where it's like, well, it's a song, so you really should use your imagination instead of having a video that tells you what it's about. But that was the 80s for you. We watched our songs. We didn't listen to them. You kids in your ears.
We have music videos too on YouTube. You forget.
Well, I do because, we have MTV, but apparently they forgot that they're music television.
Yeah, they did.
They should be reality. They should be RTV for reality television.
Next track. Promises, Promises. I just realized what Burt Bacharach's music sounds like. Songs from Sesame Street in the 80s.
In the 80s?
Yeah, like that Christmas Eve on Sesame Street special.
Oh, yeah?
If you listen to the music that they do for the skating rink sequence, it sounds exactly like Burt Bacharach and Hal David.
So then can we say that they were lifting from Burt and Hal's 60s stuff?
Maybe, you could say that.
Okay, I think I just did. Interesting.
This is the song I was looking for. Why wasn't the whole album like this? One hell of a...
What do you mean?
Promises, Promises.
Why wasn't the whole album? What whole album?
The one that we're covering, Dionne Warwick, All-Time Greatest Hits.
Okay.
It's one hell of a catchy chorus, and Dionne, for the first time, sounds like she's embracing the joy from her independence. I haven't listened to the cast recording for Promises, Promises, but this track absolutely slaps. She's walked out on her man, and she is free, and she may have messed up, but by making the right kind of promises to yourself, you can find joy, and that's a beautiful message. And this was the only song I saved to my Spotify.
Slaps?
Yeah, it slaps.
Slaps.
Yeah.
Okay. You kids and your jargon. That's right. Now, this is from the musical of the same name. Music and lyrics by Burton Hal, book by Neil Simon, based on the movie The Apartment, written by Billy Wilder and I.A.L. Diamond. It ran on Broadway in 1968 for 1,281 performances. Jerry Orbach, as Chuck Baxter, for which he won a Tony, sings the song, which is the next to last song in Act 2. The music won a Desk Drama Award and a Grammy for Best Theater Album.
Yeah, the Grammys still have that.
Okay. Dionne's version, though, came out before the show opened on Broadway. It went to number 19 on Billboard. Dionne has had it with promises other people make. Their kind of promises can destroy life, but hers can lead to joy and hope and love. Yes, love. It's an impressive vocal performance, what with all the words she has to get out of her mouth. Backed by fast-driving music, especially the staccato punctuations that appear. And again, I got to give it to Burton Hal. Great brass. Just great. They knew what to do with horns. Another out-and-out classic.
Next track, The April Fools. Dionne falls in love with a man in the month of April and says if they're April Fools falling for a relationship that doesn't last, she doesn't care. They will find their way and they won't be afraid. I would say this would be sweet if someone's anniversary was on April Fool's, but you don't really hear this song played on the radio on April Fool's Day, as far as I know, maybe because people are focusing on pulling pranks. But this is kind of a nice sweet departure from the April Fool's Day content that pervades the internet around this time.
This is from the 1969 rom-com of the same name, starring Jack Lemmon and Catherine Deneuve and Peter Lawford.
Wow, that's a mix.
Jack is Howard, a Wall Street broker in a loveless marriage who gets promoted. His philandering boss, Ted, Peter Lawford, has a party and tells Howard he should hit on women there and shows him how. Howard hits on Ted's wife, Catherine Deneuve, and she, stuck with the philandering Ted, accepts. So they leave the party, they get to know each other, and then, of course, they realize they were made and meant for each other.
Is it a good movie?
I've never seen it. They decide to run away the next night. And Ted finds out Howard is the other man as Howard and Catherine are about to board a plane to Paris, which makes sense because it's Catherine Deneuve. Yeah, of course they're going to go to Paris.
She's French.
The song pretty much sums up the plot. It only went to number 37 on Billboard, but it's one of my favorites. The open and close using mostly electric piano, at least I think that's an electric piano, and horn bookend the song. A sublime classic.
Okay, next track. I'll Never Fall in Love Again.
Are you sure?
I first heard a snippet of this in a medley Julie Andrews and Carol Burnett did of 60s hit songs. They combined this with a lyric from Alfie. And I'm so sorry, but these lyrics made me laugh. What do you do when you kiss a guy? You get enough germs to catch pneumonia. After you do, he'll never phone you. I'll never fall in love again. It's classier than saying you have the clap. I think Dionne's problem on this whole album is that she falls in love with the wrong guys who are just a bunch of bums, really. And if she stopped falling for bums, then she wouldn't be so resistant to love. But also, we wouldn't have this album, so it's a mixed bag.
This is another song from Promises, Promises. It's sung by Chuck and Fran, the woman he loves. Johnny Mathis recorded it first, then Bert did his own version. But who got the biggest hit? Who? I think we know.
Yep.
It went to number 6, and Dionne won a Grammy for Best Contemporary Vocal Performance Female. Which, the Grammy categories, they're just so confusing. Best Pop Vocal, Best Contemporary Vocal. What's the difference? Either that or they just keep changing the names as they're going along. I don't know. Producer David Merrick wanted the song the audience could whistle on their way out of the theater.
That sounds like David Merrick.
Bert was sick with pneumonia, though. But that didn't inspire Hal to write the lines that you quoted. What do you get when you kiss a girl? You get enough germs to catch pneumonia. And after you do, she'll never fun you. Dionne tells us she'll never fall in love again. You only get lies and pain and sorrow. But at least until tomorrow, she'll never fall in love again. This song has an overall effortlessness to it. I remember hearing it on the radio as a kid, and the line about pneumonia stayed with me. Kissing, germs, ugh. Hey, I was like, what, 5 or 6 years old?
All I can think of is Princess Bride. Someday you might not mind so much.
Yeah. Again, just another all-out classic.
Next, final track. The Green Grass Starts to Grow. It's smart to end this album on a happy note after all the dourness. Also, correct me if I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
But is this the first song we've heard that uses an electric guitar?
Wow, I don't know. It's possible, unless it was like buried in the back on some of these.
Maybe. Shows how Burt Bacharach made small changes to his arrangements as tastes in music started to change and
the kids like the rock and roll electric guitar, you know.
As new genres were introduced. And I love that the little flourish he wrote for the strings section. It's an absolutely beautiful snippet of strings. Interesting how it chooses to end on a fade instead of a definitive note of happiness, but maybe it's to symbolize how the love will keep growing.
Mm-hmm. This was from Dionne's last album for a Scepter, 1970s, very Dionne. It made it to number 43 on the singles chart, so I kind of look at it as like another hidden gem. And yes, I'm going to say it again, it's a classic. So basically, the weather is crap, the streets are dark, but all he has to do is smile at Dionne or hold her hand, and suddenly, well, see the title, you know. This has an interesting arrangement. When Dionne sings about the cold weather or the dark street, we get the oompa tuba dominating. But as soon as the green grass starts to grow, it changes into not really a swinging arrangement, more like a swaying one, if that makes sense. But I love this song.
Yeah. Overall, I think Dionne Warwick's collection of songs here is perfect for when you're down in the dumps and want to stay that way. As someone who's trying not to be depressed all the time, this is music I personally need to stay away from. But her empowering songs are when her voice shines, and unfortunately, on this album, they're few and far in between.
Ugh. All in all, the Dionne Warwick collection, her all-time greatest hits, is a solid set. Once again, Rhino comes through with great sound quality, great song selection, and as a bonus, you get a CD title as long as your arm. It's like they couldn't make up their mind as to what they wanted to call it. Plus, you get the triple crown of great singing, great music, and great songwriting. And this is just highly, highly recommended. So you kids, you get on your Spotify, or you oldsters like me, you know, you go look for the CD, borrow it from the library, or maybe you can download it on Hoopla or something. But I just love this CD. It just cannot be improved upon for her 60s output. It just can't. And if you want to dive into like her late 70s and 80s stuff, Arista put out a best of, which is pretty solid.
All right, as always, thank you for listening to the latest installment of My Dad Listens to This. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Remember, the more you interact with the video, the greater likelihood we have of being seen on the YouTube homepage. If you follow me on social media, I post the episodes there. If you're friends with my dad, just tell him what episode you want to listen to, and you can email it right to your inbox. As always, we are My Dad Listens to This. Thank you for listening. We will be back next time with another album to pick and gripe about. Dad, anything you want to say before we sign off?
Yeah. What is it all about anyway? Does anybody know? Does anybody care? Should we not dwell on this? Am I about to have an existential crisis?
Tune in next time, folks.